Alright, what's up? Just wanted to do a pretty quick video here, show off my new build, which is a Exsanguinate Inquisitor, and it is utilizing the newly buffed Lightpoacher for its damage, or the majority of its damage that I'm scaling. This league with Lightpoacher, they did a pretty big change to it. They got rid of some minor stats, I think like life whenever your Spirit Burst went off, you would gain like 5% of your HP. Doesn't matter. What it gained is that new bottom line. Gain 5% physical damage as extra damage of each element per spirit charge. So you get 5% fizz gained as fire, 5% fizz gained as cold, and 5% fizz gained as lightning. So 15% fizz as ele per spirit charge, which is a lot of damage. So the goal now is that instead of using Spirit Burst to maybe try to clear, which some people I think have done this league and it works pretty well. Like that's the kind of classic Light Poacher when it first came out. That was what people were doing. You would trigger that Spirit Burst and scale it with support gems in the helmet to do lots of damage and clear with that. Instead, we don't want Spirit Burst going off. We want to just keep all of our Spirit Charges all the time as much as possible. It is a lot easier now to keep a bunch because instead of like 20% chance to gain Spirit Charge on kill, you now have just 100% chance to gain Spirit Charge on kill. But turns out you can go even further for that, which I did not come up with this. I was informed of it, and then you'll see I kind of changed some things up myself. But basically, the goal is to make it so Spirit Burst can no longer trigger, because that's how it consumes the charges. If it can't trigger, you don't lose charges. The way to do that is to give Spirit Burst a mana cost, so I can pull it on my bar here. You can see my Spirit Burst costs 2 mana, which is done by linking it to Archmage support, which gives skills a base mana cost of 5% of your unreserved mana, because by default it does not have a mana cost. And then, so if you put Archmage in and you have at least 20 mana unreserved, your Spirit Burst will then gain a cost of mana. And this alone doesn't do anything, because, you know, I have mana, I could spend the mana. The original people that were putting these builds together that I'm aware of were doing it with CI characters, and in addition to Archmage, they were putting Life Tap in, so they would give it a mana cost, and then convert that mana cost into a life cost with Life Tap, and as a CI player with 1 HP, you can never pay the life cost because it would kill you, so the game just doesn't let you, and it prevents it from ever proccing. You just keep all your charges all the time. However, I wanted to play Exsanguinate because I like Exsanguinate. It's a fun skill. I enjoy it a lot. You can't play Exsanguinate either for the same reason, because it has a life cost. So unless you somehow got it to 0, which is just not feasible or realistic in any real way, you can't play Exsanguinate CI. So I needed a new solution to not be able to proc the Spirit Burst. And what I came up with was, on an Inquisitor, it could be done on others, but it works well with Inquisitor. I'm running Mind Over Matter, even though I only have 50 mana open. And I'm running Righteous Fire alongside Corrupted Soul, which is just good for Inquisitor. This is letting damage bypass my energy shield. So when I turn on Righteous Fire, you can see now I have 0 mana available, because a good chunk of my RF damage is being dealt into my mana, and I can't out-regenerate it. So I'm just always at 0 mana. And then I just had to make everything else that I use not cost mana. So like Exsanguinate already costs life. I've got my Molten Shell and Assassin's Mark linked to Life Tap. I've got my Shield Charge and Flame Dash linked to Life Tap. And we're good to go. So now the Spirit Bursts cannot proc. The charges, they only last 10 seconds, but I made this character basically solely just to grind maps with. I just wanted a nice mapper. 10 seconds is plenty of time. There are ways to increase the duration, so you can use like a Charge Mastery for the just 100% generic charge duration that will work on the Spirit Charges. Or what a lot of those CI builds I mentioned were doing is they would play Trickster, and you get a huge amount of charge duration there. But for mapping, 10 seconds is fine. The only other stuff really in the build that's worth mentioning as far as like items or uniques, whatever, I'm running Leadership's Price and I'm running Melding of the Flesh. Leadership's is huge damage, gives some max res, Melding max res, and with the Crucible Trees for max res as well, I'm able to hit 90 all res without, like, I don't think I have any res on the tree except for the Aura Mastery. Your life has been won. And it just makes for a pretty good mapper. I mean, it plays just like a regular Exsanguinate build. The way it plays doesn't really change, but you can see I have 8 Spirit Charges, which is giving me a total of 120% physical damage gained as extra elemental damage. And it's just a nice way to scale quite a lot of damage. out of one item, which lets me focus on getting pretty good defenses as well. Like I said, with the 90 max res, I have, I think, 28,000 armor without my flasks up 40k with the flasks on. Managed to get suppression cap, all that. This is kind of what I've just been doing with this character so far. Just run through maps. Speed is decent, damage is decent. Nothing to complain about on either one. And yeah, that's the build. Just wanted to show the setup, do a quick map, show what it looks like in action. Which, like I said, it's basically just Exsanguinate mapping. Press Exsanguinate and everything in that direction kind of just dies. But it was a really fun one to put together. Like theory crafting and figuring out the best way to go about setting it up. Because I had also considered using Omni build for it instead of the leadership's price as a way of scaling the damage with the helmet. But the few setups I put together with that didn't really work out in terms of damage. Like leadership's price was just so much more damage. I was also looking at like maybe instead of running RF, if I was to not play an Inquisitor, you could do the same thing with Mind Over Matter and with Blood Rage. And if you just have, you know, very, very little mana regen, you should be able to do it with Blood Rage as well. But settle on this, pretty happy with the character. It's a really fun mapping build. And that's all I got. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. See ya.